This is a game I backed on Kickstarter many moons ago. It's called Escape the Dark Castle by Themeborn Games, and if they sound familiar, it's because very recently they were back on Kickstarter running the campaign for The Last of Us Escape the Dark, the new game in the series. So today what I wanted to do was basically just bring you a gameplay of this fantastic game, the game that started the series, in the hopes that, one, you'll get to see it if you've never heard of this game before, but equally, maybe get a sense of what the gameplay could be like in The Last of Us Escape the Dark before it reaches our tables. Because my name's Sam, this is Should You Back It, and I'm here to help you crowdfund with confidence. So this is equally a game I featured in my 5 games I backed and love video. If you haven't seen that, I'll share a link up in the top right of the screen. And I've equally got 2 cameras here today so that you can see not only me playing the game, but equally the game itself. This is a game that's very easy to set up. You can play from 1 to 4 players. I am playing in a 2-player configuration today, even though there's only one of me, and I'll be controlling 2 characters here, the Abbot and the Cook. In Escape the Dark Castle, you are, in essence, just a normal person. You're not a hero, you're not a knight, you're not here to save the day, you're just average Joes that have been thrown in the dungeon, and very suspiciously, the door to your dungeon, to your cell, has been left open, and you and your friends, your fellow dungeon mates, are trying to escape. Each character that you can choose from has a different skill configuration, which is very plainly described to you on your character sheet. So you'll see here in the Abbot you have Wisdom, Might, and Cunning. Whereas on the Cook, you'll see that the stats are slightly different. She's very good at Might, kind of good at Cunning, not great at Wisdom. So once you've chosen your characters, you'll take the kind of scenario deck, which is made up of tons of these cards. I'm not going to flip them around because then it will spoil the surprise for you if we do get through a lot of them. But you'll shuffle and choose 15 of these cards, put them together in your scenario deck, and you'll choose one enemy who you'll face off against if you make it through all of them, which is not common. This is a game that you should know before you even pick it up, that you're not going to win it a lot, and that's kind of the point. It is challenging, it is entirely cooperative, and it's tough, but I love it. So enough chatting, let's get stuck into it. If there's any more that you need to know, I'll explain it along the way. Just know that this is going to be a very talking heavy video because this is kind of like a choose your own adventure style game. Let's get stuck in. After years of incarceration in the depths of the Dark Castle, you finally break free of your cell. In a small stone room adjoining the cell block stands an old wooden chest. The lock is open. Draw an item card per player now. So each character, each player can hold 2 items, they have 2 hands. So our Cook will gain an elixir of insight, so we can discard before any round of combat to change any chapter dice to show a trait of your choice, which is going to be very useful, potentially. And our Abbot will draw an effervescent evasion. Whenever you would lose HP, discard this item to lose none. Perfect. So that's your starting items. You hear footsteps approaching. You must not linger here. You make for the exit, slipping away and disappearing into the darkness. Turn the first chapter card now. So one very important aspect of Escape the Dark Castle is that before you enter the next room, before you take your next step, you've got to choose who's going to be first. That's very important because sometimes whenever you go into the next room, traps can trigger that only target the person that went through the door first. So we're going to say that our Abbot is going to go through the door. Several armed figures spring from the shadows and attack. This is an indication of how the rest of this game will go. You become separated and each player must fight alone. Roll a chapter dice in front of each player to represent the muggers attacking them. However, the muggers want your items. Players carrying 2 items roll 2 chapter dice instead of 1. And now we begin combat. So the combat special here is that each time a player would take damage from a mugger, they avoid it by discarding an item. No player can rest until the muggers attacking them are defeated. They may then either rest or help another player defeat theirs. A player aiding another takes damage as normal and must declare who they are aiding before they roll. And these muggers will do 1 damage each. So in order to figure out what we need to take care of these muggers, because you'll see there was no symbols on there of, well, how much health do they have, Their health is determined by these chapter dice. So we'll roll a dice for the abbot. He needs to roll a might to kill his mugger. And the cook needs to roll a cunning to kill hers. Each character has their own custom dice that, wrong hands, that corresponds with their skills. So we're going to start with the abbot. He rolled a wisdom, so his mugger's still alive. The cook rolled a might, so her mugger is still alive. The abbot is going to use his effervescent evasion. Whenever he would lose HP, he discards this to lose none, mainly because he could discard an item to not lose XP anyway. The cook is going to take 1 wound, so she is now down to 17. And then we roll again. However, the cook is going to use her elixir of insight and discard before any round of combat to change any chapter dice to show a trait of your choice. We're going to change that to might to make it more likely that we are going to attack. So abbot roll firsts. He rolls a wisdom. And the cook also rolls a wisdom. We could die very quickly. We may not get through a lot of rooms here. So the abbot rolled another wisdom. The cook rolled 2 cunning and a shield. Usually that would mean that they're able to block any attacks coming in, but she's only being attacked by one person who is now kaput. So the abbot will take 1 wound. So they're both now down to 16 health, but now we're going to say that the cook is going to help the abbot in trying to take care of the mugger that's attacking him. We just need 1 fist, which neither of them get. So after like 5 rounds, the abbot finally rolled a fist to take care of that mugger. The first room is done. We lost 3 health each, which is not great, but that is Escape the Dark Castle. So the cook is going to go through the next room first. A drunken guard stops you and demands to know your business. He is unsteady on his feet and his breath is vile. As a group, which is easy because it's just me, we get to choose one option. We can bribe him, discard 1 item, and he will forget he ever saw you. Misdirect, nominate a player to roll wisdom in 1 attempt. If I succeed, I befuddle the guard with a riddle and move on. If I fail, the guard tries to detain me. I struggle free and escape, but all players lose 1 HP during the scuffle. We have no items to bribe him with, so we have to try and misdirect him. The abbot has the highest wisdom, so we're going to nominate him to try and roll wisdom in 1 roll, which he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. All players lose 1 HP and we move on. The abbot will go through the room first. In this sweltering chamber, a blacksmith is forging a sword. He is so absorbed in his craft that you spot an opportunity to steal from him. So as a group, we can choose 1 option. We can choose to move on. It's not worth it, and we turn the next chapter card, or we can steal. So I'll nominate a player to try and roll cunning in 1 attempt. We're not even going to try it. If I succeeded, I would draw. We would draw 2 item cards, though. Oh, I am a sucker for loot. You know what? Screw it. The cook's going to try and roll cunning in 1 attempt. We could do with some item cards. And the cook actually rolls cunning in 1 attempt. So we're going to draw 2 item cards. The first one is Liquid Luck. Discard to re-roll your character dice, applying only the second result. The other card is a Partially Rotten Apple. So we can discard to restore 1 HP to your character. I'm just going to assign those randomly to our 2 characters. And the cook, because she did so well, is going to go through the next room first. You hear a scream from behind and turn around too late to avoid the clutches of a lurching ghoul. As a group, choose 1 option. We can flee, you get away, but you lose 2 HP shaking off the ghoul, or we can fight beginning combat. The combat special is that you, i.e. The cook, is so fear-struck that any wisdom I roll this chapter has no effect. The cook doesn't have great wisdom anyway, so I think we might try and attack this thing. So just to give you an understanding of how combat works, because this is a real combat scenario. This ghoul is going to do 2 damage to each of us per round of combat. We're both on 14 health as it is. This right here kind of indicates your health. So the last time when we had the muggers, they had 1 chapter dice that was randomly assigned. For this ghoul, their health is 1 wisdom, and then we roll, this icon means a chapter dice per player. So technically, although there's only me, there's 2 characters, so we'll roll 2 chapter dice. So we get a might and a cunning, so 1 of everything. So in order to defeat this ghoul, we need to roll our dice, and kind of for each match we take that away. Whenever we've matched with all of the dice, the ghoul's dead. So the cook rolled a fist, which is perfect, that's 1 away. And the abbot rolled a cunning, that is that gone. We didn't take it out completely, and neither of us rolled a shield, which means that we will both take 2 damage. So the only sign that's left is 1 wisdom, and if you remember, the combat special is that any wisdom that the cook rolls will have no effect. So there's no point for her even entering into this combat. Instead, what we're going to do is the cook is going to rest. What that means is that she's taking a step back away from the kerfuffle. She can't take any damage, she can't attack. Instead, she will gain 1 health this round, and the abbot is going to try and take down this final wisdom, which he doesn't. He rolled 2 might, but rolled the shield, which means that he's blocked any incoming damage. We're going to basically just copy that exact round again. The cook will continue to sit back, now resting up to 14 health. The abbot will roll for wisdom, which he gets, taking the final wisdom away. So we've killed the ghoul. Anytime you kill a monster like this, you'll take a treasure card unless otherwise stated. And we get another partially rotten apple. So we can discard to restore 1 HP to our character, which the abbot is just going to do immediately because he's already gotten 1, to get him up to 13 health in the hopes that we can survive a little bit longer. And the cook's going to go through the door first again. Without warning, a swarm of giant bats bursts into the passageway. You can only cower beneath the overwhelming blur of wing and fang. As the bats swarm past, each player in turn must roll their character dice along with 3 chapter dice. After rolling, a player loses 1 HP for each chapter dice that matches the character die. If a player rolls a double or rolls no matches, they're unharmed by the bats. So we'll start with the abbot. So a character dice and 3 chapter dice, so we don't want any matches. And we rolled a double, so he's absolutely fine. The cook, however, let's see if she can make it through it, also rolls a double, so they both get through that unscathed. That was quite lucky. Cook's going to go through the door again, just because they've got more health. This nobleman seems out of place wandering the bowels of the castle. He offers a reward if you do not tell anyone you've seen him. As you talk, he covers his nose, visibly disgusted by you. As a group, choose 1 option. We can aid him. You agree and he rewards you. Draw an item card. Or we can attack, and if we survive, we would draw an item card per player. I'm not going to risk it. We're just going to take an item card and tell him that we'll do what he says. And he gives us a steel loaf of bread we can discard to restore 2 HP to your character. The abbot is going to eat his partially rotten apple and keep the steel loaf of bread, which puts him up to 14 health. So now both characters are back up to 14, which is pretty good. You emerge into a small sandy arena. In the center, a woman far taller and far more muscular than yourself raises her well-worn blade and calls out, "Challengers, prepare to die." Begin combat. Combat special: before each round of combat, nominate 1 player to fight the arena champion. Only that player rolls and only that player takes damage. You must fight in the first round, which is the abbot. Players may not rest. Basically, because we're all in an arena. So the champion here has a fist, has a might, a cunning, and a wisdom, and then we roll 2 more chapter dice for our characters, which is an additional might and an additional cunning. So the abbot rolls first. I wish we had some weapons, but hey ho. Okay, so we get rid of the wisdom, and we block the 1 damage that we would have taken. Next round, the cook is going to be nominated as the person that's going to fight the champion. See if we can try and get rid of some of that might. We get rid of 1 of it, and we take 1 damage. And the cook's just going to go right back into the brawl again. And we roll 2 might and a block, so that is finally removed. We block any damage incoming, and I think the cook has to just keep on going because she's got the higher chance of rolling some cunning. So, unlucky for her. Okay, we've rolled might and a shield, so nothing happens. We roll 2 cunning, which is perfect. 2 cunning's gone. We would have blocked any damage anyway. The champion is roundly defeated by our very heroic cook, by the way, going in barehanded and completely destroying her. And we take a loot, which is an elixir of insight. We can discard before any round of combat to change any chapter dice to show a trait of your choice. And that'll go to the cook. So that's perfect. The abbot will be the first one through the door because the cook took some damage. You stumble upon a recently vacated guard room. A pot of steaming broth simmers on the stove and a fire still smoulders in the grate. You hear the sound of angry voices and footsteps heading your way. You grab what you can before slipping away into the darkness beyond. We get to draw an item card, which the abbot will get to equip, which is another liquid luck. Alright, so the abbot is going to charge through the door again. Oh. You pass through a chamber which serves as a cesspit below the castle privies. As you pick your way through the filth, something unusual catches your eye. We get to draw an item card, which is... oh, is the Golden Axe. So this is one of the cards that came as part of the Kickstarter. I can't remember if it was a stretch goal or if it was an exclusive. I believe you can now get it on their website. But this is a relic weapon. It's 2-handed, which means we'll have to try and get rid of our items here. But in combat, we roll the Golden Axe dice alongside your character dice, which is this special golden dice here, which you'll see is pretty much doubles on almost anything. If we roll the axe, we remove any 1 chapter dice. If we roll the skull, we lose 1 HP and we discard the golden axe. So in order to equip the golden axe, we're going to eat our stale loaf of bread to get 2 health points back, which puts the abbot up to 16, and we'll just get rid of our liquid luck because we don't really need it. Fantastic. So the abbot, with his big axe, is some kind of like warrior monk now, is going to just charge through into the next room. Oh my. This passageway suddenly filled with harsh whispered curses. Flames leap from the wall-mounted torches to take on the form of a demonic warrior. Tongues of arcane fire surging from its charred skull. As a group, we can choose one option. We can flee, we escape, but everybody loses 2 HP, dashing through the fire, or we can fight. And the combat special is whoever deals the final blow loses 1 health point as the demon vanishes in a burst of flames which cannot be blocked. Honestly, I mean, we're going to lose 2 HP anyway. I think we should, now that we've got the golden axe, unless that goes belly up, I think we should just attack him. So the demon gets a cunning and a wisdom, and we're going to add another wisdom and a might to that. I think we're going to use, the cook's going to use their elixir of insight to change the cunning into a might, so we've basically just got 2 doubles. Then we're all going to fight. Okay, so the golden axe takes both of the wisdom, gets rid of them, and then the cook and the abbot between them get rid of the might. That was a pretty good fight, actually. So whoever deals the final blow loses 1 HP. We'll say that that was the abbot because he's got more health. Because we get rid of the demon, we get an item card, which is Effervescent Evasion. Whenever you would lose HP, discard this item to lose none. And the abbot will lead the way into the next room. So you turn a corner and step right into the path of 2 guards. They exchange a puzzled look, then lunge to restrain you. As a group, choose one option. We can flee, we force our way past them, but not before taking several glancing blows. Each player loses 1 HP, or we can fight and begin combat. I am feeling lucky. I think we're just going to flee. Actually, I tell you what, our cook is going to use her Effervescent Evasion to negate that wound and keep her at 13. So the abbot is at 14, cook is at 13. Abbot's going through the next room. At the end of this winding passage, a wooden chest covered in cobwebs is protected by a gauntlet of vicious-looking traps. As a group, we choose one option, we can move on, it's not worth the risk. We turn the next chapter card, or we can risk it, we nominate a player to try and retrieve items from the chest. They must roll cunning in one attempt, and may try this as many times as there are players, and for each success we draw an item card or 2 on double cunning. We're going to move on. None of us have cunning as our primary skill, so we're just going to move on, get to the next chapter card, and try and escape the Dark Castle. So the Abbot is first through the door. You interrupt a beastman devouring a fresh kill. He raises his head, sinew dangling from his gore-smeared mouth, then charges. You must try to roll might or a double in one attempt, and if we succeed, we react quickly and dive aside, and then begin combat. If not, you, as in the Abbot, are slammed to the floor, lose 2 HP, and then we begin combat anyway. Okay, so we're not in combat, so I don't get to roll the Golden Axe dice. So we're just looking for fists, which we get. I managed to roll out of the way of the Beastman, and we now begin combat. So the Beastman, his health is a might, a cunning, and then 2 dice for an additional cunning, or additional might, sorry, and a wisdom, and we'll all attack. Okay, so the Abbot rolled 2 might and a shield, so he's blocked. The Cook rolled a wisdom, and on our Golden Axe we rolled the Golden Axe symbol, so we get to remove any 1 chapter dice. So we'll remove the eye to kill the Beastman, and we'll retrieve a piece of treasure. The Golden Axe, by the way, was a bit of a lucky draw. It's a very strong weapon when you roll well, but there have been times where I've gotten the Golden Axe and immediately lost it, so it's all luck of the dice. So we get some liquid luck, discard to re-roll your character dice. And the Abbot, we didn't take any wounds that turn, so we'll head through to the next room. The Abbot will be the one to go through the door, very close to the end. So from the darkness ahead, an arrow whistles past your ear. Before you can react, another buries itself into your shoulder, and you slump against the wall in agony. The Abbot loses 2 health points, which puts him down to 12. Cautiously creeping along the passage, you find a man's body riddled with arrows. There's no sign of the attackers, so you check to see if he was carrying anything of value. We get to draw an item card. So the Golden Axe is 2-handed, which takes up both of our item slots for the Abbot. And the Cook, what we'll do is we'll discard one of our liquid luck to give the Cook a warped cudgel. So once per round of combat, when you roll might, you may roll again and choose which of the 2 results to apply. So the Cook will go through the door first. To enter this door, you are forced to push aside thick, thorn-covered vines. They spring to life, binding your wrists and hauling you into the thicket beyond. You lose 1 HP. So that's the Cook down to 12 health as well, which isn't too bad given that we started on 18 and given the fact that I told you guys this is a really difficult game. Hacking at the aggressive weeds eventually causes them to recede through cracks in the old stone walls, leaving behind the belongings of precious victims. We draw 2 item cards. So we're going to have to discard some stuff here. So we've got a Cracked Axe, which is a 2-handed, and another liquid luck. So the Cracked Axe, in combat, roll a chapter dice along with your character dice each time you attack and apply both results. I think we're going to discard our warped cudgel and our liquid luck to equip the Cook with the Cracked Axe, because we're going into the final room. So this is our boss card. They always look a little bit different. And there's a number of boss cards that you can have. There's some expansions for Escape the Dark Castle where you can buy new bosses, which add in more chapter cards as well. But let's see who we're up against. So do not read until you have completed the last chapter card. This is it. You have reached the final challenge. One last obstacle stands between you and freedom. Turn over now. So our final boss is the Dark One. Your pitiful trinkets are no match for my dark magic. As you enter the Dark One's presence, which would have been the Cook, any items you are carrying vaporize. Discard them now. So the Cracked Axe is gone. Begin combat. Now, this is a boss, does 3 damage per round to everybody. And as you can see, a lot more health. So the dark one has 1 cunning, 3 wisdom. I could have really cheesed that in my head. It could have been the abbot going through the door first, but then we would have had to get rid of the golden axe. But we'll pretend, we'll have an agreement, you and I, that it was always the cook that was going through the door, even though I didn't specify. This is why you should always specify who's going through the door first. So 2 might. All right, we're all going to attack simultaneously here because we got to try and take this guy down. In essence, we're both on 12 health. If we don't kill this guy in what, like 4 rounds, we're both dead. So here's hoping. Okay, so who is this? The abbot rolled an eye. The cook rolled a wisdom. And on the golden axe, we get to remove any 1 chapter dice, which we'll take one of these. That'll do. Okay, we're all going, then we both take 3 damage, so we're both now down to 9. We're going to attack again. Okay, so we get rid of a might. The abbot rolled an eye. There is nothing, and we rolled the axe, the golden axe on the axe, or the axe on the golden axe. I don't know, but we'll use that to get rid of another wisdom. We're all going to attack again. We only need to get rid of 1 might, and we've escaped the dark castle. Sorry, we both take 3 damage, so we're now down to 6 each. None of us rolled a might. None of us rolled a might. Okay, the abbot rolled 2 wisdom and a shield, blocking any damage. The cook rolled an eye, and the golden axe rolled 2 eyes as well. We can't lose with just one might, right? So that the abbot is fine. The cook takes 3 damage, and this is where we have a predicament. Because in Escape the Dark Castle, it is a fully cooperative game. None of you are heroes. It's not the kind of like Cthulhu games or in many other types of games where if the cook dies, it's fine, the abbot's still alive and that'll work. No. You are normal human beings and you're not used to combat. In Escape the Dark Castle, if one of you goes down, you all lose. No one is allowed to die. In essence, the idea is that as the abbot, although I'm wielding this very cool golden axe, I just saw the cook be bludgeoned almost to death right beside me. Because I don't see things like that very often, it's shook me to my core, I surrender, and we both get put back into the castle. So if we do not roll 1 might this round, well, to be fair actually, the cook could rest, leaving the abbot to try and roll might. It would basically just buy us around, and I think we need to do a Hail Mary and just let's all just roll. Let's all just roll for it. We need 1 might. Oh, okay. So the cook rolled a wisdom, the abbot rolled a cunning, but we got 2 might on the golden axe as we cleave into the dark one, destroying him and escaping the dark castle. Folks, that is Escape the Dark Castle. We made it down to we were doing really, really well. Sometimes you can get to that last room, you can think that you have it in the bag, and then all of a sudden, you're all just wiped out. This was Escape the Dark Castle. You can pick this up at most retailers online and stuff now. I think it retails for about £30. I'll leave a link down in the video description where you can find this on Amazon, which is sometimes the cheapest place to find it. I think this is a fantastic game. If you want to find out more about why I think it's a great game, check up in the top right of the screen, where I'll be going through 5 games that I backed on Kickstarter and absolutely love. If you want to play this for yourself at home, go pick it up. And if you enjoyed this and want to see more, let me know down in the comments below. But until next time, have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.